Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Pause Window Cleaning, and this is the most asked question I have gotten so many times. Yes, the other one, how to get clients, and so this is kind of like a part two, but this is the one that everyone keeps asking me, how to price window cleaning. Now, there's many different ways of doing it. There's a lot of other people that say they want to charge per window. Obviously, it depends on the window, right? If it's French, if it's single pane, double pane, a picture frame window. There's a lot of variety to it, especially if it's like a 1, 2, 3 story. It really depends on your area and the house. And essentially, I kind of want to make this video like personalized for you, not in a sense that like, not in a bad way, but there's, some people that say, oh, this is what I price, and yet, like, for example, like here in California, it's not going to translate well to somewhere that's like, the other side of the country, or, maybe other places in California. But what's most important is that I want to make this video personalized to you, your area. I hope this really benefits you personally, because I don't want to just give out numbers and then be like, oh, I'm going to try to do this in my city. It's not going to work very well in that sense. So the best way to put it, I think the best way to price it is obviously what type of house are you doing, single pane, double pane. I'm just going to kind of give you the answer. I like to eyeball the house, right? I don't have like, if it has 5 windows, I'm going to charge this price or this. But actually, now that I talk about that, I think before you actually give a bid, you need to have a minimum. Now, why do I say that? When I first started doing window cleaning, it's kind of funny. I really didn't know what to do. I just kind of went there, was kind of just throwing out numbers, and some people said yes, and some people said no. I kind of, as you can imagine, maybe not every job that I did was, they didn't pay well, but I was just happy to have work, right? But then one of my clients, kind of funny, he asked me, he's like, hey, you should probably have a minimum. Because he asked me if I had a minimum. I was like, no, I don't have a minimum. He's like, you should probably have a minimum, because like you don't want to go somewhere just to do like 1 or 2 windows. In my mind, I was like, man, I'm just trying to get any work possible. So at that point, you have to have a minimum, or he got that idea of me to have a minimum. So once I started having a minimum, things became more simple, right? So now to have a minimum, I think back then, this was a few years ago, my minimum was like, I think 125, something like that. I think in today's time, 2023, the end of 2023, maybe you're watching in 2024, I would say it should be like at least 150, if not 200, should be your minimum. Now, when I say your minimum, that can be a variety of things, right? But at least to set up, get to the locations, do the windows, all that stuff, should be easily $200, right? So now again, it depends. What type of equipment do you have? Do you have a water fed system? Because if you do have a water fed system, I would say 100% you should increase your prices of your minimum and your prices in general, just for the outside, because you're using a system that costs a lot of money to, first of all, have, right? But also too, like it costs a lot to have like a resin, right? So like, for example, I have a X2, which would I guess be nowadays the Pure Max. I have to change my carbon filter every month, I would say, comfortably, and I'm very happy to do so. It's like, what, 12, 10, 15 bucks, something like that, so I have to do that every month. My resin, I have to replace that every 6 months, and that costs, I think it's like, I think I buy for 2 fills, I think it's like 100, 150 bucks, something like that. So then the big huge tubes that I have on my machine, that I have to replace every 4 years, and that's a couple $100. So things start adding up. So that's why I'm saying, like, if it depends on what you're offering. If you have a water fed system, charge more, because you can also sell that to your customer. Hey, I'm using purified water, I'm not using traditionally. Of course, depends on the window. The window might, leak because it's very old, and the way the window is, sometimes it's just going to leak. No fault to the homeowner. That's just the way the house is. You could put towels on the inside too. That does help sometimes for Ashley and I, if it's just like one window, but if it's all the windows, it's gonna, it's better to do by hand. Anyways, the point is that, you have to understand what type of work you're going to be doing, what type of products you are offering to the customer. But A middle ground, I would say, like comfortably, at least you cannot go more, you can't go less than 150, right? You have your minimum at 150. That's, I think, a great starting ground, especially because you're licensed and insured. I hope you are. I really encourage it to be licensed and insured. 150 is a good starting ground. And tell the homeowner, hey, I'm licensed and insured. And that's going to be, now they're going to start thinking like, oh, okay, this is 150. That's, he's licensed and insured. He's a professional. So yeah, you should charge something, right? So now let's look at the house, right? We're going to just focus on residential. Commercial is a different situation, storefronts, all that stuff we're going to talk about later if I ever make a video about that. It's just, I don't really do too much of that stuff, so I'm probably not the best person to do that. I want to focus more on residential, so that's why I kind of just focus on residential. So, but anyways, we're here because we want to quote a house, right? So now residential, right? Is a single pane, double pane? Is it French windows? Is it 1-story, 2-story, 3-story? Go. I guess the best way is to like see what do you want to like make in 1 year. Okay, I know that sounds kind of funny, but break down how much you want to make a year. Don't say $1 million because you're not going to make $1 million. Okay, don't say $500,000. No, you're not going to get that. But be more reasonable. Like, let's say you want to make $60,000 in 1 year, right? That's something that you want to do. Remember, you're just starting off. You don't want to be pricing like so high that you could and see how that goes, right? But again, you want to price somewhere that's that's comfortable for you. What do you want to make in your first year, right? So like, let's just make it easy. Like I said, I just threw out a random number, but like, let's just say $60,000. Okay. So you have $60,000 and that is your gross income, right? That's not after, tax deductions and all this. We're just talking about gross income. How much do you want to make? Obviously with net income is going to be less, but what do you want to make for your gross income? Okay. So like, let's say again, it's 60,000. Okay. How many days a week do you want to work? Okay, you have to keep in mind that window cleaning is seasonal. So like in the winter time, you're not going to be making a lot of money. Now that January, February for me is coming up, I do have some work, fortunately, but it's not as much as like the summertime, springtime, fall, especially in the later time, in the winter time, like November and December. That's really our peak season also. So keep that all in mind. So this is going to be more like of an averaging out, right? So like, let's say you want to make $60,000 a year, right? Okay, how many days do you want to work a week, right? Let's say you want to work 5 days a week. Great, that's what you want to do. Well, let's say you want to work 3 days a week. Okay, that's fine. It's up to you too. So what you want to do at that point, so I'm going to try to help you guys out a little bit here. I have my phone here and like, let's say I have a calculator out right here, right? So like, let's say you want to make 60,000, right? You want to make 60,000 in 1 year, your gross income, right? So like, let's say you want to work 5 days a week, times that by 4 weeks in a month, right? So you're going to more or less work 20 days a month, right? So you times that by 12 months a year, which we hope you have 5 days of work every single day, even in the wintertime. Just for the sake of argument, just, you can do your research. I'm just trying to make this a general thing. So if you work 5 days a week, every single month, that's 5 days a week for every day of the 5 days a week. Now I'm getting a tongue twister. 5 days a week times 4 weeks a month equals 20. Okay, so then you're going to times that by 12 months. You're going to get 240 days that you're going to technically work. Now I would say you probably want to go on vacation. There's probably holidays you don't want to work. So let's just subtract, like, let's just say out of this number, I don't know, let's say another, 20, right? Because you want to go on vacation. You don't want to be working every single day. Trust me, you're going to burn out. So remember, we're not including weekends, so we're not including all that number. So let's just say we want to make it 220, right? You want to take 20 days off for vacation, right? So 220, okay? So that's the number we're going to have. So if you want to make $60,000 a year, divide that by 220, you're going to make $272 just for your work, right? So again, this is just based on having your window cleaning done. So let's say 272. Let's say you say, you know what? I want to have, remember, this is your minimum. This is not doing the whole house, right? Let's say just your minimum. So 272, right? So like, let's say they just only have a couple windows on the outside and inside. You can say, you know what, let me rewind a little bit. So like, let's say 272, let's say you want to have your minimum to be what, 250, right? So you're like, okay, you're looking at this house and you're like, oh, okay, my minimum's 250, right? And you're looking at this house and you're like, oh man, they only have a few windows. Maybe let's just say 10, inside and out. You can be like, you know what? This fits my minimum. I'll charge you 250, and then the person's happy. Then you can, once that is agreed upon, you can be like, hey, I also do window cleaning, screen cleaning, solar panel cleaning. You can add on your other services, gutter cleaning, whatever you want to add into it. Then that can be another thing to add on to here, and that you can, price that out as you want in that sense. But we're just focusing on window cleaning. 250, right? That's kind of like your minimum. You're like, okay, there's a couple of hard windows to get to. Keep that in mind. Those are a couple hard windows to get to there. I can see myself doing it for 275, and you can tell the person 275, but at least they know your minimum. And again, when you're starting, I think 150 is like easily like the lowest anywhere in the country you can go. I think 150 is great. You can push to 200. But like, let's say you really want to start getting higher in your numbers. Remember, in the beginning, you're not going to be making a lot of money. So just keep that in mind. This is just numbers, just throwing things out there. Because you have to also factor in, like, let's say the house is 2-story French windows, right? You're not going to charge 250 for that, right? So you're going to be like, okay, well, like in this case, your minimum's 250. You're like, oh wow, this is French windows. My minimum's 250. I'm just gonna double it, right? So then from there you have 500, right? You can just charge 500 or do whatever, because every area and I mean, I guess anywhere wherever you're located at is going to be different, right? But what I'm trying to show is that I don't want to have like a blueprint of like, oh, you have 10 single panes, that's going to be 250, No, this is more like I want to make sure that this is something that can benefit you no matter where you are located at, right? And of course, over time, you're going to start to get to knowing like, oh, okay, well, this window is going to be a little harder, because maybe in the beginning you're like, oh, this is great. This is going to be easy. And then you start to learn, oh man, that one window was very hard to get to. Maybe next time a window like that, I can charge a little bit extra. So it depends on what you want. So now when it comes to like bidding for like inside and out, sometimes some people just want their outsides done and they have like, I don't know, 10, 15 windows. You have your minimum. Let's just keep it now at the 250. You're just like, oh, my minimum's 250. This is the lowest I can do because I'm licensed, I'm insured, all my equipment, all my materials, all that stuff. Then they have to understand, yeah, this is a business, especially here in California. It's kind of expensive. So they, like in my case, they understand, oh, 250, not a problem. Okay. So now when you get your minimum, I would suggest have a seat, kind of have an idea of like, okay, now that I have French single pane windows, right? I'm going to charge 250. What is going to be your your French window price compared to your single window price, right? Single pane price. Then from there you can make kind of like a blueprint. Okay, it's going to take me a little bit longer. Remember, at the beginning, you're not going to know exactly what you're going to do to charge. Do your best. I would say try to like have like a foundation, a floor plan of like, okay, if it's a 1-story house, single pane, I charge this much. If it's inside and out, I charge this much. If I do French windows, I charge this much. If it's 2-story windows, I charge this much. So kind of have like an idea. But at the same time, this is, at least you have your base of your minimum, right? Because not every window, like when I say to you, oh, I have a 2-story French window house, you don't know how many windows is going to be. So like in my other previous video, I have like my good friend, when I started doing window cleaning, they had me do 1,250 windows inside and out. So that became 2,500 windows. That's a big house, right? Now, if I go to someone else's house and they only have like, let's say 2 stories also, let's just try to keep it the same. And they had only like, I don't know, like, let's say 300 French windows. You're not going to charge the same of this person that has 300 versus having this person that has, 1,200 windows pretty much, right? So then if you times that by 2, right? So again, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to always get it right when it comes to bidding. But then you come again to the situation of like, okay, again, like I said, you want to have your minimum for at least 250. You want to have, your floor plan of like how you're going to charge for different windows. Also, I know some people do it based by location. For me, I kind of just eyeball it and kind of go by what I think is correct. But if you're like in a richer part of the neighborhood, maybe you can raise your prices a little bit more compared to being in like other areas. It all depends on you. I'm just trying to set this floor plan up because there is no blueprint. There's a lot of YouTubers that kind of say, oh, I charge this per window. Hey, use that too. They're like, oh, if I want to charge, let's say, a single pane inside and out, this is not how I do it, but I'm just saying if we're going to go with their point, oh, I charge $10 or let's say $8 for just outside only, and then inside and out I charge, let's say, like $12. I don't know. I'm just making these numbers up, right? Then from there, at least you can have that maybe as your like beginning foundation, right? But you're going to get to the point where you don't need to count the windows. And sometimes when I would do a bid, even to this day, they're like, I want this window done, this window done. I don't want this window. I want this one. That's great. And that's their choice. But then when I tell them, look, I don't charge by window. I charge for the house, like the project. They're like, oh, okay. So then, yeah, let's just include all of it. I'm like, yeah, I tell them straight up, like, if you skip that window, I'm still charging you the same. So it gets it, even the bidding process makes it very easy to do. And at the same time, you don't want to make it too complicated to the point where they're going to be like, what in the world, how did you get that number? And it just becomes really complicated because also too, I do have competitors obviously in Southern California, and that's going to be the case for you too. It's also good because no one's going to know how I price. It's just kind of how I do it. And, even if my local competitors are watching this video, hey, how's it going? But at the same time, I'm not trying to like give my whole, my pricing, because in reality, my work is my work, right? Let's say for you, you say like, oh, this house might cost me like $500, right, to do. I might say, oh, it might cost me $400. Sometimes it'll be the other way. You might charge $400. I might say I will charge $500. So it doesn't really matter in that sense. But what's most important, you want to have like a minimum, and like, we kind of broke it down. Like, okay, like let's say you want to, because you could always go higher in the number, right? Even though, like I said, if it's French windows, you can, charge 500, let's say, right? Inside and out or whatever you want to do. And then from there, technically you did 2 days worth of work in the same day. You kind of get what I'm saying? So this is going to average out. Some jobs, man, you will charge $1,000, right? And I have a few of those. You charge $1,000, then it's like, okay, great. But then from there's other jobs that I charge, differently because they don't have a big house that the other houses do, right? So that's essentially what I want to get at, is that I want to like make sure that like, okay, I'm starting out, I don't know how to bid, but if you kind of just have that confidence, like, yeah, this is this and that, you kind of want to have, and a lot of people kind of say the same thing. I think someone told me one time, you kind of want to have like a 75% success rate in closing down a bid and then performing the job. Because if you are charging, let's say, whatever you want, and you're getting like 25% like return that they're saying yes, I think you're charging a little too much. Now, if you're getting 100%, maybe in the beginning it's okay because, you want to get that confidence. You want to do the windows. You want to post content, take a lot of pictures, by the way. And that's what I said on my other video too. Then maybe in the beginning you want to try to get 100% of the work, but you don't want to be the cheapest either, because when you become the cheapest, then you have the reputation of being the cheapest. And then from there, they're going to be like, oh, this guy charged me $100. Okay, I'll do it for $95. Then from there, it's not worth the time because maybe you could have gotten a job for $250, right? That's your minimum. So all in all, you want to make sure that you want to have everything according to you. But like, let's say you want to work 3 days a week, right? I mean, that's your choice, right? So let's try to focus on that 60,000, okay? So let's say you want to work 3 days a week. There's 4 weeks in a month, so that equals 12, okay? So 12 times 12 is 144, right? So 144, so let's say you want to make 60,000 gross, right? Divided by 144. Now you're charging like 416, let's just make it easy, like 400, right? That to be your minimum, yeah, if that works for you, but I think that that's a little bit too high to have as a minimum. But then again, that's you working 3 days a week. So I would say, if you have that sweet spot, maybe you want to let's say you want to be 50,000, right? Let's say you want to make $50,000 in gross income in a year. Then from there, because remember, you're always paying for insurance, you're paying for to drive, pay for gas, pay for food. You have to survive, right? You don't want to be so cheap either. So 50,000, right? So I think it was 220, right? We want to work 220 days in a year, right? So we're gonna say now 50,000, right, divided by 220 days, because you want to have some vacation days too. Now your minimum is 227. So maybe I would say, now looking at these numbers, I would say maybe having your minimum around 200 will probably be better. Again, you're licensed and insured, you have good equipment. And then let's just keep it easy. Let's say you want to have it for 200, right? You're not going to get all the jobs perfect. You're going to be like, oh yeah, this is definitely my minimum. I'm going to charge my minimum. Next thing you know, you're like, oh man, I underbid that. And that happens sometimes. Once you get into the swing of things and you're kind of I get an idea of okay, this house is worth this house is worth that. There's some houses, I'll be honest, that I bid and I think I overpriced the bid and I didn't do it intentional and they said yes, and it's wow, okay. And then other times I do bids and I underbid and I'm like, oh man, but that's what the bidding process is all about, right? Also too, you'll have some clients that will compare you to other businesses. I would say be careful of that, because you never know if they're really telling the truth. You always want to hope that they do tell the truth. But you want to make sure that, you don't want to show that your worth is less. Does that make sense? So I know when I first started, I was just saying yes to everything. They're like, oh yeah, let's say, I'm just throwing out a number. I don't really have a real client in mind, but let's say I charge $300, right? So you charge $300 and they're like, oh, but the other guy was charging me $200. You don't even know the person. You're and they either say, can you match it or go less? And you're you're starting on, you're yeah, let's do it. I would say be careful of that, because you don't know if that person's really true, but are saying truthful things. But then again, it's you're getting work and all this other stuff. But just be careful of that. If they're can you get $25 off? That's my budget. And they're being honest with you. I've done that a couple of times. I'm you know what? You've been cool about it. Let's just do it. Some other times they're just kind of very much trying to get a deal on top of a deal on top of a deal. And it's kind of I don't like that personally. So, and another thing too, when you do pricing, I would honestly say it is okay, confidently, it is okay to say, I don't want to give a bid, right? Not literally like that, but give a bid to that person. It's okay to say that. I'll give you an example. I went to a house one time and I saw this house, 2-story house. I think it was French windows. I don't remember, but I know it was 2 stories. I don't offer soft washing. I don't offer pressure washing. I just offer window cleaning, screen cleaning, and solar panel cleaning. And I was kind of looking at the house. I was yep, I can definitely use my I can use my water fed on these French windows. Yep, and it's not going to leak. Everything looked good. Okay, so I was kind of walking around. I was talking to the wife, and then the husband came, and he was oh, so I have he has his roof. So imagine his house like this, and his roof kind of overhangs over past the window, if that makes sense. The frame of the house and the window was right here. And he was telling me, oh yeah, I would like to have the spider webs removed. And I'm again, you have to be confident of who you are and what you offer. Oh, I can remove, and I said, I can remove the spider webs that's on the window and the frame of the window, but everything outside of that, I don't do that. And the guy was oh, but it's very easy, this and that. And I was no, I just offer only that. And the guy was oh, okay. Very nice. He was respectful. I'll give him that. So then at the end, we walked around, we went back to the main door, right? And so I was kind of okay, so that's it, okay. And then the guy was okay, so also too, I would like the spider webs removed. And I'm man, I already said no, right? So I was oh, sorry, I don't offer. He's no, that's what I want done. I said, okay, well, if it really bothers you, you can go to Home Depot and get a pole or something and put a rag or something, you can dust it off. He's no. That's why I'm hiring you to do that for me. And I was just whoa, okay, well, let's take a step back. if he's already treating me like this and I don't even offer this service, I don't want to do this job. So at that moment, I just like straight up told him, I was like, and he told me like, so what's your bid? And I said, unfortunately, I see that you want a service done that I cannot do. So unfortunately, I won't be able to give you a bid, and I hope that you can find someone soon. Just walked away. So obviously you want to be respectful. You never want to argue with someone that you're giving a bid to, because that's really bad business practice. But I would say, you don't want to get every job, just because some people might try to take advantage of you. And again, I would totally strongly suggest to have a contract, because at that point you can have the fine print explaining things. Because I remember I did this other job actually just recently, very nice lady, and it's not her fault. We gave the bid inside and out, and then she started opening up the windows, like in the windows that's called storm windows, right? And I was just like, oh, we never knew that you had that, and you never brought it up to our attention. We have a contract here that clearly states that that's extra. She only had like 2 or 3 of them. So I was like, oh, it's just those 2 or 3. Let's just go ahead and do it. And we actually did it included. She was very nice. Again, you want to be personable. You don't want to be like black and white, but you want to make it like, okay, this is good. This is not good. Okay. So anyways, we ended up doing it for her. But again, having a contract is good. But anyways, going back to giving bids, I would say just have a minimum. Right? Eyeball it. Obviously, the more work there is, the more that you're going to charge. Obviously, you charge more for screen cleaning. I have a flat rate of $5 a screen. Maybe you want to charge, like a bundle set, like, kind of like buying a burger, like, hey, would you like fries with your burger? You maybe be like, hey, we also offer screen cleaning, and if you would like to add it, I'm just making up a number, but you can be like, oh, maybe for $100 more we can do all your screens, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, make it a flat number and just make it easy for them, make it easy for you. You can do that too. And then also too, you could be like, oh, you also have gutter cleaning, that your gutters, you need those clean. You can have a minimum for that. That one, I don't even want to do like how to charge for gutter cleaning, because like no one wants to pay. And it, like I said, I've had some clients, but those are good clients, right? But yeah, that's another thing. But if you were to do it, you can be like, oh, this is my minimum for gutter cleaning. Again, you get practice, right? And you kind of have an idea. Do they have gutter guards? Anyways. So you can add that. So that 250 job minimum, let's say in your eyes, you're like, oh man, this is, I think that's my minimum 10. Let's say it's just say 10 windows inside and out, 250. Great. But yet they wanted all of their screens clean. Let's just go with that example of $100. So right there, boom, 350. Let's say they wanted their gutters cleaned. Apparently everyone wants it for $100. So let's just make the story simple. Let's just say, boom, we do it for $100. And let's just say it's a very simple one, so let's not go too crazy. But boom, so right there from 250, you just made 450. So a lot of times it's good to like upsell, but not like push upsell. Just say like, if they're interested in it and all that stuff. So yeah, so I think that's kind of it when it comes to giving bids. Obviously, if you want to do, I guess a tip, if you want to do like French windows that are kind of like if you want to like charge like the same thing as like doing the panes like I was giving earlier, outside 8, 12 for inside and out. The same principle would be for French windows, but if you want to do like, you don't want to do it individually because that would be very expensive, but I would say 3 French windows equal 1 window. So just keep that in mind, so that hopefully that helps you out if you want to start getting into that. But yeah, that's kind of it. Like try to go see how much money you want to make. Or have a minimum. Let's have that in mind. But to get a minimum, you have to see how much money you want to make a year. Again, you're not gonna make $1 million. Okay, everyone keeps boasting about they're making $1 million. It's unless you have like a crew and you do a lot of other services, pressure washing and all this other stuff. I can see that happening. I know some people that actually are doing that, but again, you have to pay your payroll. It's a lot of work. So, but like if you're just you and let's say you have like someone that's helping you, or it's just you by yourself, I suggest to work by yourself. Fortunately enough, I have my wife with me, so we work together. That I'm okay with. But anyways, so just have a reasonable goal. Maybe like let's just say you're just starting off and you would love to like have, let's say, 40,000 a year, right? So you can do the 40,000 a year divided by 5 days a week. By all that, it will get to 240, right? We already explained that. Take 20 days off for vacation. You need a vacation at some point, and holidays and all that. Then from there you have 220, right? Could even be more too. Maybe you want to work 200 days a year. I don't know. It's up to you. Again, it's whatever works best for you. And then from there, you kind of have that as a foundation. Then you get your minimum. Then from there, you kind of just see how long will that job take? Will it take you all day? And that's kind of what I want to get to. The second part, and I guess the final part, is like, what's the max you want to make in a year, right? So like, let's say you want to just keep it at the 60,000. Let's say you want to make 100,000, right? So let's get the calculator again. So let's say you want to make 100,000. You do the same thing, okay? So we're just going to keep that 220, that figure. So we're going to do 100,000 divided by 220. That's going to be 454, okay? 454. So let's just make it easy. 450. Sorry, my camera, I guess, only records up to 30 minutes. So that's kind of, yeah, I didn't know I was recording for 30 minutes, but I guess, yeah, time flies, right? So anyway, so like, let's say you want to make 100,000 one year, right? So let's do the same thing of the 220, right? That's how many days you want to work in a year with vacation, all that. So 100,000 divided by 220 is let's say 450, okay? So 455. But yeah, just make it clean, 450. And so what was the other number? So we had the 60,000 divided by 220 is 272, so minus 450. So it's about $177 difference. And so, I mean, you can do that. I think that's kind of low still. I think you should probably charge more than that. But the point I'm trying to say, maybe let's say 120,000. That would be really nice. But let's say 120,000 divided by 220, it will be 550. So yeah, so again, you want to like kind of have like an idea of like, okay, this house is going to take me like all day, right? From like 8 to 5, right? You kind of want to get your money's worth, right? So like, let's say right now it's at 545. Let's just make it 550 divided by 8 hours of work, or I guess 9, but let's just say 8 hours of work. That's like almost $70 an hour. That's like, let's see, $68.75, right? But I would say, if anything, that's kind of like a good starting point. I mean, eventually you maybe want to get to like $100 an hour, if not more. I mean, everyone's different. For me, it's up and down, so I can't really say that. I like I said, I don't look like for hours. Like, oh man, this job, it's going to take me 2 hours, so I'm going to charge. No, I don't do that. Now, if it's like a big commercial project, I guess I'll kind of add it into this video. If it's a big, huge commercial project and I'm like, man, this is going to take me 2 days like to do, then I'll charge like my max amount, right? So like, let's say, what did I say? So 120,000 divided by 220 is 550, right? So I still think that that's kind of low, but let's say for the sake of argument, you're like, okay, it's 550 and it's going to take me 2 days to do this commercial building. So 550 times 2 is $1,100. So what you can do is just mentally think about it. You're like, oh man, this is going to take me all day if I do all this work and everything. Perfect. And that's kind of what you want to aim for, So sometimes you underbid, sometimes you overbid, but sometimes I don't like to do by time because, it could be sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But at least, if it's going to be like an all-day project, right, then at that point you can be like, you know what, yeah, this is going to take me 2 days, if not 3, I'll charge this much. And then from there, you're confident because you're like, at least I got max money, if that makes sense, to do the whole job. And other times too, maybe you have a 2-story French window house. You're like, oh man, this is going to take me all day to do inside and out, charge $550, right? So you kind of get what I'm saying. So all in all, I kind of just wanted to make this video to help you out because there's a lot of videos out there. Go watch them too. It's not a problem at all. But I just want to kind of just make this as simple as possible because this is how I do it, right? This is kind of like the best way for me. Even if people try to do the same technique, I think it's best because it keeps it fair. It keeps it like I said, if you look at a house and you're like, oh man, this is 2 stories. Okay, I'm going to charge more. 2 stories French windows, okay. Oh, a single pane, okay, I don't have to charge as much as French windows, okay. But like, let's say I'm charging like, I don't know, let's say $400 for 2-story windows inside and out for French windows, 2-story inside and out for like $300. Yeah, that's kind of low, right? So in the first time, the person might be like, yes, let's do it. That's sometimes what happens too. They get excited and you're like, oh man, I think I underbid. But But then again, you're like, okay, and then after that job, remember, if you're new, learn from these experiences. It's okay, because you're building that confidence, you're building the work, you're building the technique. So you're going to lose some, you're going to gain some. Even to this day, I still lose some. I think I mentioned that already. But again, but you want to make sure that at that point, you're like, okay, next time, okay, that house took me, let's just say it took you 7 hours to do it. So let's do the math again, right? So it's always good to look at a calculator too. So like $300 divided by, let's say we did it in 7 hours, you only make $42 an hour. So I mean, it's still good money, right? But still, like, you kind of want to have like a balance of like how to charge, right? But then again, you say that house again, right? You're like, okay, so now maybe I charge $100 more, right? So we said $42 an hour. So let's say 400 divided by 7 hours it would take us, let's say. Now it's at 57. So technically you made $15 more. I think you kind of get what I'm saying. So you kind of start getting ideas of how much do you want to make an hour. Just keep in mind, when you first start off, you're not going to be charging the same prices that people that have been doing it for many years. Because, for example, for me, I have many years of experience. If there's something that happens, I can troubleshoot. Sometimes I have clients that tell me how to clean windows, and it's kind of like, okay, this is kind of my business, and they start telling you how to clean it, and like in the sense that it's like it has to be their way, and it's like, yeah, no, this is how I do it. And I guess the best example would be like the water fed. They don't trust it. They're like, oh, you have to go and squeegee it off. No, you don't have to. No, you have to. No, sorry about that, guys. My memory, I guess, got kind of full, so I had to kind of pause on that. But anyways, so essentially the lady wanted me to squeegee water that was on the windows. So like stuff like that happens, and you just want to kind of make sure that you're, taken care of, and you want to make sure that you kind of be confident in yourself, make sure that you bid really good. Of course, it all comes down to what you want. I'm just trying to make this as transparent as possible, right? So that you can be confident. But of course, if there's like a couple of dollars off here and there to like, change the price, then go for it. Like if that's what you feel. I do it not as often, but I sometimes do, if the person's really nice and, maybe they're on a budget, no problem. But at the same time, you don't want to go too low, if that makes sense. I'll give you an example. I think a couple months ago, I don't remember exactly, but like a few months ago, I gave a bid to this person, right? And I think I bid her was like $400, something like that. And so she said to me, oh, well, my previous window cleaner, they charged me $200 and they did it last year. And it's like, oh, okay, well, go with them, right? And then like they're like, oh, but he actually doesn't do it anymore and stuff. And so they're kind of trying to like passively grandfather themselves into that other person's price into your company. So you kind of want to just be a little careful of that. Like I was saying earlier, they might say, oh, I got a bid for this price. Hey, if it's again couple of dollars, then go for it, like if that's what you want. But if it's a big difference, then they're just looking for price, not quality. So again, you want to make sure that you stand for what you charge, and that's kind of like your business, right? So but anyways, I just try to make this as easy as possible. If feel free to reach out to me in the comment section down below if you have any questions or comments. Maybe other window cleaners can help you out too, or give like how much you bid or how much you charge for windows. But again, I am in the mindset of just trying to like keep it as simple as possible. You just want to go to the house, kind of eyeball it, go there, and sometimes it's going to be tough. You're going to be like, oh, should I charge this? Should I charge that? That's all with experience. Eventually you're going to be doing window cleaning for like 15 years. You could even just probably look at the house. Another thing too, I don't like, actually now I think about it, I don't like giving bids over the phone, because you don't know what the house is like. Like let's say the whole house is full of like hard water, or like I'll give you an example. So I was doing a house, right? I think it was last year. It was like right before a holiday. I remember that. And I was doing a house, and I was kind of like in the middle of it, and I get a phone call, right? And I answer the phone, and this guy was like, oh, I need my windows done before tomorrow. And I said, oh, okay, well, because it was the holiday the next day. I said, okay, well, I do have a minimum and this and that. And he's like, okay, that's fine. That works for me. And so he was like, but I said, but this will just be a bid. Hopefully I can do it. Can you send me like a picture of your house? And it's kind of funny because he sent me a picture. I did have water fed at that point. And so it was like kind of like French windows, and it was like a cute little dog in the front, right? And I was like, oh, well, it doesn't look like that big of a house. So, obviously I'm busy. I don't have time to look on Google how the house is. So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll give you a bid afterwards. And if I have the time, I'll go end up doing it, right? So like I said, he already knew my minimum. So, and I said, this is kind of like my fault too. I said, oh, it'll probably be around my minimum if it's just outside. And he's like, okay. But again, I kind of saved myself because I said possibly. So I ended up finishing up the job, and I said, hey, I'm on my way. I'll be there, I don't know, like 20 minutes. He's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Hurry. And I was like, hurry. Okay. So I was driving there, and then he texted me again, Handy, hurry, I want this done hopefully by today. I understand, like, if, as a homeowner, but still, like, hurry. Okay, anyways, I show up to the house, knock on the door, and this guy comes out, and I was like, I don't know, I think his name was Tony. He's like, hey, is this Tony? No, give me another name, Peter. He's like, no, I'm actually Peter. Tony is the property manager, and it was a house, right? Property manager, and we're just finished remodeling the house, this and that. But Tony told me that you'll come. Okay, so show me around the house, Peter. So he walked me around. That front view that I was mentioning before, that was there, right? But the back of the house was like completely different. It was like huge. It was like triple the size of the front of the house. And I was like, what? And even to the point where like we were walking like kind of like towards the back of it, and there was like this window that was actually really cool. But it came from the ground, right? And it went all the way to the top, going to the roof, right? So there is no roof, it's just that window. And the window goes on the roof of the house. Can you picture that with me? One window, still the same window. Does that kind of make sense? With an angle on the top, right? And I was looking at it, I was like, wow, that's a really hard, that was like 2 stories high, right? And so I couldn't put a ladder on the glass, I would have to put on the side. I was like, man, how am I going to do it? It was full of like tree stuff and everything. I was like, man, this is like a project. And so then the guy was like, well, I just want to let you know, Peter was like, Tony was telling me that this is a very important window. He really wants this done. This is that. And I was telling Peter, I was like, look, Peter, not in a bad way, but like, I know that this is a job that, he sent me a picture for the front. It looked nice, but if this was a very important window, why did he send me a picture that, oh, I don't know, that's Tony for you. I was like, okay, so we kept walking around the property, and then we walked back, and I was like, hey, Peter, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to be able to do this job today. Like, even if I wanted to, like, tomorrow's a holiday, I'm not going to work on a holiday, that's just how I am. And I was like, no, this is going to take a long time. And, I unfortunately, this and that. He's like, no, it's okay. I can put the ladders. And he had like some wooden ladders that were like, who knows how old. And I was like kind of like stack ladders. And he was like, oh, I can put them up and I can hold it. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Right. So anyways, so I was kind of like, telling Peter, I was like, yeah, I'm going to just not do it for Tony. So I called Tony up, and he's like, just go ahead, get started. And this and that, yeah, you said it was going to be about $350, so that's good with me. And I was like, okay, he's already telling me what the price is. He's already telling me I have to start the work. So I already told Peter no already. So I was like, hey, Tony, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do the job for you because I came to do the bid. This is a huge job, and I'm not going to be able to get it done by tomorrow. Man, this guy was like yelling on the phone, words that, you don't want to hear. And it was just like this whole thing screaming at me. And he's like, you gave me your word. And I was like, dude, like, I know that I told you I was going to give a bid, but and I told him the picture you sent me was like the smallest part of the whole house. I didn't know it was going to be all that, oh, but you gave me your word, this and that. And he was going to write a bad review and all this other stuff. And like, so again, it's best to, in my opinion, give a bid in person, see the house, see how it is, what tools you need, what all this other stuff. And you don't want to have that experience of someone getting really upset with you, and it's just an awful feeling, I don't think anyone deserves to be yelled at, but that's another thing. But it was very like, I don't know, it was very weird. And then like I think the wife was like parked on the side, and when I was leaving, I said bye. She was coming in kind of confused, and I don't know, it was just a very weird situation. But anyways, if I could make a final point, give a bid in person, analyze the windows, make sure that also too, when you see the windows, if it's double pane, make sure that there's no moisture inside. If it kind of looks like a crystal, there's nothing that you can do, right? You're going to learn this with time. There's nothing you can do on the outsides of the window because the inside, maybe where the seal is, there's probably, like I like to tell them, like probably like a pin needle hole that's inside the frame of it. Then that's how moisture gets in, because you have the AC on the inside, and probably in the summertime it's hot on the outside, and vice versa. Heater in the inside, it's cold outside, and so that moisture with the little pinhole going inside, it's gonna be, that's where they get that from. But anyways. But yeah, it's always good to look at the windows, and you can let them know, hey, you know, this looks like the seal's broken at some point that I don't know which side it's on, but there's something that I can really do. And then now they get an idea, because you don't want to have false expectations. Even if you go on the phone, they're like, oh, is this what? In their mind, you know, like if you're starting, you don't know too much about windows in the sense that you probably think right away, oh, I'll take care of that, no problem, because it looks easy. But then you start to learn, oh, you can't do this, you can't do. So it comes with time, but it's always good to look at the house in person. Also, too, if the house is very simple, you don't have to go inside. I don't go inside, but you could go inside if it's like kind of like a 2-story house. Sometimes they kind of like a loft thing. I have like I was mentioning before, I think in another video, that like when you go inside, you know, there's probably like no like up like second level, so like you have to get a pole to reach to the second floor, if that makes sense, right? Or a ladder to get up there. So you kind of want to keep that in mind when it comes to like budgeting. So but anyways, normally I just do the walk around on the outside, kind of get an idea. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it. I mean, I think I kind of covered all the bases. Hopefully this helps you out a lot. Yeah, I'll do my best. If you have any questions, reach out to me, but hopefully this helped. And if you made it far in this video, don't forget to like, comment, anything, you know, like how you price, where you're from. That'll be a cool thing too, like to be like, oh, well, I'm from here, this is how we charge, and all that other stuff. So it could be like a little community thing, you know, like to have like other people, because like I said in the beginning, no one helped me out in that sense. You know, I kind of had to do everything on my own. So hopefully I was able to help you out, you know, in that sense. I just want, I want everyone to be successful. That's just kind of how I want to be, you know, kind of like, you know, help you out. But at the same time, keep this in mind. Doesn't matter how many window cleaners there are out there, there's enough windows for everyone. So it's kind of a nice peace of mind, right? It's not like, oh, you know, there's not enough windows. No, there's enough. But also too, I just hope that this helped, and yeah, just comment what your prices are, where you're from, and yeah, and if you haven't already, subscribe. I'm gonna try to be posting up more videos. I will hope with our schedule, hopefully like once a week, so at least you can get updated as much as possible. But in the meantime, I hope this video helped. Share it with your friends and family, maybe someone that you know that is looking to becoming a window cleaner, or wants to be a window cleaner, or is a window cleaner, wants to get better in window cleaning, or even with prices. And yeah, I hope this helps. So anyways, I'll wrap it up, and see you later. Bye.